Hello everyone, welcome to another Key Factor community tutorial. I'm Sven, and today we're going to look at cleaning up the Microk8s environment that we created I think a year or more ago, where we deployed EJBCA as a container inside Kubernetes. We want to back up the database so we can keep all of our configuration, but then remove all the deployments we've done and all the other integrations we've played with to have a fresh new, renewed instance of Microk8s that we can then redeploy EJBCA with the Helm chart and also deploy MariaDB with a Helm chart and then set ourselves up for future tutorials we'll do. So without further ado, let's kick into the tutorial. We'll start out with a shell, and we're going to SSH over to our Kubernetes Microk8s VM. And then we can look at all of the deployments and persistent volume claims, host paths we've got, the services, secrets, etc. We've got a lot of stuff that we've deployed in the last year and some change that we've been using this VM for the different tutorials. You can stretch the console out here, make this a little bit easier to read without these line wraps. Move the browser over and stretch this a little more. There, that's a lot more easy to look at. So we've got the services, replica sets, secrets, the PVCs. And we can see we're on the file system here, and we've got this directory called SQL, and that's where we're going to back up MariaDB before we remove everything in the Kubernetes cluster. So we'll install the MariaDB client. I actually already have this installed, but I'm just running the command so you can see it for that side. And then next, we are going to clear the screen. We'll try and keep a little bit better real estate. We're going to dump the MariaDB database now that's there. So put in the password, and we get the one error. So with the command we ran, we're dumping everything, all the system tables. That's why we're getting that error. But from the testing I've done of re-importing, it didn't seem to be a problem. But let's look in the SQL directory, and we can see that we have our backup that we just took. We'll clear our screen again. And now we're going to uninstall the EJBCA cert manager Helm chart. We'll clear screen. We'll uninstall the cert manager Helm chart. We'll clear that one. And then we're going to uninstall Istio with Istio control. And we'll do yes. You might have to run this a couple times for it to fully uninstall. And then we're going to start the reset. This reset I ended up took around 10 minutes, I think, to do. It was not a fast process, but we'll speed it up for the video. We'll clear the screen again now that Microk8s is all reset. And we can take a look at what's in the cluster, and it's how it was when we first started the tutorial, X number of days ago, whatever. So now that the cluster's ready to go, we need to re-enable the DNS, the host path storage, and Helm since Microk8s is reset. So these get installed. And the next thing we need to do is install the Metal LB for external access from the cluster. We'll clear the screen again. Now that Metal LB is installed, we'll create an alias for Helm. And then we can look at what's deployed now. So now we can see that the Metal LB is deployed. And then we're going to add the repo for the MariaDB. And we're going to create a secret for the database password. And we'll clear the screen. Oh, actually, we'll do a list first. And then we'll CD over into the K81 directory, where we've organized all the deployment YAMLs from previous tutorials of EJBCA specific stuff. And then we'll cat out a file for the MariaDB override that we're going to use with the MariaDB Helm chart. This will be a stateful set deployment too. And then we'll deploy the MariaDB with Helm. And we can take a look and see that it's starting up the container. Give it a few seconds here. And we'll check again. And now it's running. So the database is up. We'll clear the screen, and let's try to connect to it with the MariaDB client. Put in the password. That's good. We're getting prompted. It's up, and it's there. So we can exit, and now we need to restore the database. So we'll run this command to ingest the SQL file of our backup to pull that in, put in the password. And then we can connect back to the database again, put in the password for the root user. and then we'll connect over to the EJBCA database. And we can do show tables now, and we'll see all the tables from the restore. Then we can exit out, clear the screen again, clear up the real estate, and now we'll add the community EJBCA Helm repo. And then we're going to create the EJBCA override YAML file that we'll use with the EJBCA community Helm chart. We can see we're using the same database connection string, and this is really just taking what was in the deployment YAML we had before and porting it over here. But different now is that we're going to have two secrets for the database credentials to connect to the database. And we also have a service type of load balancer where we'll have Nginx in the same pod as EJBCA to terminate TLS. That way, coming inbound to the cluster, it's TLS all the way till you get to the EJBCA pod. And then we'll create our database secret. And then we'll create the TLS secret that's used for Nginx using the certs that we previously had created when we deployed this before. But otherwise, we are ready to deploy with Helm. So clear the screen, grab the command here to do a Helm install with our EJBCA community Helm chart. And then we can list the parts in the namespace. And now we see one of two ready. So the Nginx container is going, but the EJBCA container is still starting. And then we will look at the logs for the EJBCA pod. And we see the health check ready there. So now we can log into the browser. We'll go over to the browser. We'll log into the admin web. And now we have EJBCA running after we've cleaned out the cluster. And there you have it. We can clean up the Microk8s cluster, redeploy EJBCA and MariaDB with Helm, and have a nice cleaned up cluster ready to do some more tutorials for this year. All right, we'll see you in the next video. Take care.